cosmetics. There hasn't been one since 1938, the year before the Second World War, when the nylon toothbrush was first invented.
And cosmetics then, I imagine, not being a regular user of them, but I imagine cosmetics then and cosmetics now, the difference is unrecognisable.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a chemical industry now, where it was, I imagine, ingredients were simpler and more straightforward then.
Well, now the danger is they've introduced nanoparticles, which are about 80,000 times thinner, smaller than a human hair. But there's not enough research as to where these nanoparticles go once they go inside the body, because they're smaller than human cells, so they can cluster together and cause all sorts of dangers. But in my novel, Pretty Ugly, I wanted to use a sort of a contemporary twist, and we're speaking about the royal wedding today, and we Harry and we Meghan, and it's a celebrity wedding. So I introduced into a serious health concern, for dramatic purposes, a celebrity, a former Miss USA, a beautiful woman
called Patricia Roberts, and she's injured during the course of her career. She is injured by cosmetics.
Exactly.
And then this swashbuckling Belfast Irish journalist called Colin Heaney takes up her case and he fights. Who's he based on, any chance?
A little bit of moi, but not a lot of moi. The fellow is much more intelligent.
Really?
Much more charismatic than I.
So the story then develops. It goes to Washington, and it goes to Donegal, then to the Wide Atlantic Bay, where they meet this Romanian kind of reclusive Romanian scientist.
Yeah, he's a peculiar character, a bit like, what's his name, Hagrid in
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, and he has a laboratory on Gola Island in the Donegal Gaeltacht. Because
there's not much else on Gola Island.
Well, it's true.
You couldn't hide a laboratory there, I don't think.
Well, he does. He manages it. Quite an interesting fellow, whom I base on a real life character from Romania.
Because you have a family connection with Romania.
Yes, my dear darling wife, who's to your right, is a little vampirina from the villages in Transylvania. So be careful, don't tell her.
Because you went after Kansas City, you left America, you went to Eastern Europe after the fall of the Berlin Wall and started to train young journalists there. In this
yes,
sort of
I had taken the old Orient Express train when Eastern Europe was still under communism, visiting all the way from Istanbul up to Paris, and I wrote colour stories about life under communism. And then I learned that the Human Rights League needed someone with experience after the revolutions, after the fall of communism, to set up the first ever journalism schools. So I was single and I didn't have a mortgage, and I had been a medical and science writer for 10 years then in the United States, and I thought a little change might do me a power of good. And thinking I'd go for a year, I went over and set up the journalism schools, forgot to look at my watch, and 20 years later, I'm still over there. And by then I was a foreign correspondent also, and I was covering Yugoslavia war and Iraq, as you mentioned. But the excitement was setting up the first journalism schools. I mean, the first day, I remember there was a line of people, hundreds of people, young people, men and women, around over several blocks in Bucharest. And I thought they were lining up for food, because there was still a scarcity of food and milk and such like. They were lining up to come to the journalism school.
Why was that desire there, do you think?
Just an incredible outpouring of emotion. At last they were free. They could express themselves. They could write. They could become real journalists, whereas under the dictatorship of the Ceausescu's in Romania for decades, you couldn't express. You couldn't have a typewriter. If you had a typewriter, it was considered illegal, and you had to get special permission. And the typing, each letter had to be typed on a sheet of paper and signed and brought to the police station, so that if there was ever a newsletter or a leaflet distributed, they could perhaps track whose typewriter it was.
You had to have a license for a typewriter under the Ceausescu's.
Yeah, because it was considered potentially dangerous to the nation, basically the regime of Nicolae Ceausescu.
So given the power of journalism is an incredibly powerful tool worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Given that you had that power and you had experience and life experience in the world of journalism, why write a novel about the cosmetics industry?
Well, I was teaching a course at the Seamus Heaney home place a few days ago, and I was talking about the 5 W's of journalism: who, what, where, why, when. And I was explaining to the would-be writers that if you added to that the what-if factor, So here we have the who, what, where, why, when. Cosmetics are dangerous. There's no regulation or very little regulation of cosmetics. People are having severe illnesses and diseases from an unregulated chemicals in the cosmetics. What if I added the what if factor? And the what if factor is a corrupt cosmetic company that's making millions, a investigative journalist, a beautiful beauty queen, and what if they are battling to tell the truth out there? So that was the what if factor, the journalism, the W's, and then the what if factor, the dramatic factor added to that. And as for Donegal, as you mentioned, I wanted to link America with Belfast and Donegal, where I now have a home up in the Gaeltacht. And the most ancient cosmetic known to man, believe it or not, is turf, because of the strange turf. So there's lots of turf bogs around our house in Brinnelac in West Donegal. And because of the microbial environment of turf, as you know, you can put bodies in turf, and like Egyptian mummies, they don't disintegrate. People put butter in the bog to preserve butter. So I wanted a little bit of island colour and ancient Celtic mythology added to the novel.
And can a novel have the same impact in terms of the story that you want to tell as a front page article in a newspaper?
I think it can, because you can develop a colourful plot, a dramatic plot. You can add a murder, you can add a love affair, you can add many elements that make for entertainment. It takes longer, of course, but I think it can, and if you add a celebrity, as I mentioned, to it, I think it can help people understand what is a serious health issue that needs to be regulated. So I think novels written well, I'm not saying mine is, I leave that up to the readers, but I think it can focus on an issue. And there's several script writers and others working in the film industry that have been looking at the book for potential, I say potential, it's a long way to go, converting Pretty Ugly, the novel, into a movie. So movies even better, in all honesty, than novels for highlighting a serious issue.
Absolutely. And Colm Heaney, the hero, the journalist hero of the whole thing, lives and could be developed into something else in the future.
Yes, I'd like to continue the character in future novels.
You're going to stay with us. The book is called Pretty Ugly, written by Sean Hillen. And as I say, Sean is going to stay with us until the end of the programme and maybe dance a bit more. It's now 29, coming up to 11:30.